school. Where have you been? We were worried to death.
Hello everyone, hope all is well. Sorry it's been a while since I've made a video. I just wanted to take a little time, work on my garden, but I am back and refreshed, and I want to start with, once again, communicating to you that the Poo-Poo Charter will only hurt you. It's a totalitarian document. It's designed to take away your freedoms at the whim of the state. My proof here is a final decision made on these folks here at Trinity Bible Chapel, but not just them, because you will also see in this is also the Church of God from Elmer. Many of you might know Mr. Henry Hildebrandt, and you'll see, I believe that's his son or brother in there in the mix. Either way, the Church of God is in this mix, as well as Trinity Bible, Jacob Reum. You can see this. This is Law on CANLII. I will supply the link so that you can see it for yourself. And you can see that essentially this is a ruling on constitutional validity of religious gathering restrictions during the C-19 issue. I'm not going to take too long with this video. I'm going to just scroll through here. Again, you can go through it detail for detail if you'd like, but real quick, I'll stop here and show you that their building accommodated up to 400 people in Elmer. And Mr. Reum, they could get up to 900 people. Remember, they were restricted to 10 people? Keep in mind that includes the band.
Forget my name while you collect your claim.
So I'm going to just continue on here just to make this video straight into the point, because the question is, are we accurate that Section 1 of the Charter essentially will totally clobber you in a court of law? And my answer to you is yes, it will totally clobber you because of Section 1. And you will clearly see that in this final judgment right here. I would suggest that you do read 172 very thoroughly, or this entire document very thoroughly for yourself. But here is the bottom line. The bottom line is that the government does not deny infringing on their religious freedoms. They say, yes, we did. Then they say, however, we're allowed to because we have a good reason. And I'm going to tell you right now, if a state can just at a whim say, we have a good reason to take away your rights, I'm going to tell you straight out, you can't possibly have them because they are claiming they own them. But not so with the Canadian Bill of Rights, which we are going to go over real quick later on. But in the meantime, let's go back to this judgment right here. You will see it here right in 173. Hence, the judge says, I have little hesitation in concluding that while numerical and percentage gathering limits infringed the Charter, not the Bill of Rights, not the Bill of Rights. See, they were foolish enough to actually invoke the Charter. Why do I say that? Well, as you can see, they've concluded that these gathering limits under the Charter, they violated it. That's what they're saying. So let's read that again. Hence, I have little hesitation in concluding that while numerical and percentage gathering limits infringed the Charter, yes it did, the salutary benefits of these restrictions outweighed the deleterious effects on religious freedom. See, they're weighing it. Yeah, we infringed your rights, but we have a really good reason to do so. That's what they're saying here. Ontario has met its burden to establish that the regulations in issue are, here it is, folks, reasonable limits. And we have people going, they're not using it properly. They're not using it properly. No, they're using it exactly how it's written. We get to put limits on your rights at a whim as long as we have a demonstrably justified reason in a free and democratic society. They used Section 1, and they're going to specify that here in the conclusion of Section 174. And I'm going to repeat this because everybody needs to understand this. My rights are not from the state. It's the supremacy of God that Canada was established upon, recognizing that our human rights, our civil liberties come from the great God Almighty. That's how we established our laws. It's not democratic. My rights are not democratic. You don't get to vote on whether I'm going to wear shades at night like Corey Hart. You might say, well, Shade, I don't recommend you wear shades at night, but that doesn't mean you get to tell me when I wear sunglasses or not. You don't get to vote on that. You don't get to vote on whether I eat broccoli today or not. You don't get to vote on that. I choose. If I want broccoli, great. If I want to boil them or fry them, it doesn't matter. Why? Because it's my decision. You don't get to vote on my civil liberties. There's no exceptions to that, but for the criminal code. So unless you want to tell me that it is illegal for me to eat broccoli or not to eat broccoli, then quite frankly,
do me a favor, please. Get out of here. Get out of here, man.
So if you want further proof that this unratified piece of garbage called the Charter is exactly what we are saying that it is, here's your proof. Very simple here, folks, in section 174. Did the Ontario restrictions on the size of religious gatherings interfere with the fundamental guarantee of freedom of religion in Section 2 of the Poo-Poo Charter? Answer, yes. They plainly tell you, yes, we totally interfered with your rights. Question 2. Did the restrictions interfere with other fundamental freedoms guaranteed in Section 2 of the Poo-Poo Charter? Look at the answer. It's not necessary to answer this question, given the answer to number 1. Do you want to know what the communication is there? What they're saying is, we can interfere with every single right listed in the Charter. We can interfere with all of them. It's just a question of whether we, the state, have decided that we have a good enough reason. And that's what question 3 here is going to prove to you. If there was interference with freedom of religion or other freedoms guaranteed by Section 2 of the Poo-Poo Charter, here's the big question. Are such limitations reasonable and demonstrably justified in a free and democratic society under what section? Section 1 of the same poo-poo communistic totalitarian charter document? What's the answer? They answered yes. Yes, it is. What's the overall communication? Did we interfere with your rights? Yes. Did we have a good reason? Yep. You lose. End of story. No discussion necessary. I don't care if it's the biggest, fanciest, richest lawyer with the best law degrees in the world. If that lawyer is going in with the Poo-Poo Charter, unless he's got a really good friend and he's making some super awesome backroom deals, you're going to lose. It's that simple. That's why I always take people back to the Canadian Bill of Rights. It's a federal statute, period. And all law enforcement has to go through the scrutiny of the Bill of Rights. So if they got nothing in the criminal code, which last I heard, there's no criminal code that says you're not allowed to have more than 10 people in a building that can seat 400 or 900. They don't have the right to do that. Why? Because the Canadian Bill of Rights, which is a federal law and really does acknowledge the supremacy of God, this is the one that you should be using. And if a lawyer isn't recognizing that, and they're saying, well, Shade's not a lawyer. Well, you're right. I'm not a lawyer, but I know how to read. And I just read this CANLII law. And they said, yes, we are justified in limiting your rights. That's what they said. The Canadian Bill of Rights doesn't say that at all. So if you want to continue telling me that I should invoke the Charter so that you can clobber me with this Section 1.
Do me a favor, please. Get out of here. Get out of here, man.
Which is exactly what they did to this group of folks that are claiming their religious freedom. And it was denied based on Section 1 of the Poo-Poo Charter because they say it was reasonable to keep Costco at, having 300, 400, 500 people in there all the time. But you guys, you can't have more than the band, the preacher, and Mr. and Mrs. McGillicuddy. That's it. That's all you get. And we get to make those decisions. Let me put it to you this way. This section 1, you have all these rights, and including, by the way, the right of the individual to equality before the law and the protection of the law. Really? Did they treat Costco the same as they did Trinity Bible Assembly? Did they? No, clearly not. Did they treat the Elmer Assembly equally with Walmart? Answer, no, they didn't. But see, with the charter, they get to take away rights from some people, and other people, they, make their own decision. Well, that's a big corporation. We'll let them continue operating as they always have. Or we'll put a restriction on them, but, we'll make it more like 50%, 70%, something like that. We get to make those decisions. We don't have to treat you equally. You have freedom of religion, but with the charter, not so much. You have freedom of speech. With the Canadian Bill of Rights, you do. It's locked. Here, there is no loophole. There is no reasonable limit. And for those folks who want to say, well, it's federal, law enforcement is federal. As soon as you go to enforce law, it's federal, period. Criminal code is federal. It's a federal matter. You can't say that in Ontario, you're not allowed to, murder people. But in Manitoba, you can. Okay, you don't get to do that. There are certain matters, which includes criminal code and law enforcement. Anytime they go to enforce a law, it has to pass through the scrutiny of all federal statutes. So they can make whatever law they want. They just can't enforce it. It's really that simple. That's the concept here. They can make a law saying, yeah, you have to wear a mask. And I say, no, I don't, because I have the Canadian Bill of Rights. And as soon as you go to enforce that law, I have the right to life and liberty. That doesn't exclude what I put on my face. It includes it. Okay, security of the person. That has to do with medical privacy and financial privacy as well. It's not just whether or not you get to punch me in the face or not. Enjoyment of property. Guess what? If I own a building, for example, that has a religious gathering attached to it, you don't get to say no, because that's my property, not yours. I hope this blesses you. Grace and peace.